Good day, everyone. My name is Dwayne Griffith, and I'm here today to talk to you about pitching, the art of storytelling. So, as mentioned, I'm Dwayne, and I'm part of the Islandpreneur Dream Team. Over the past couple of weeks, I've heard so many things about you all, and I just want to say congratulations on making it this far. The pitch competition is a couple days away, and I just want to end this session off with giving you a few tips and tricks on how to perfect your pitch and tell a great story for this amazing competition. What are we going to cover today? I'll give you a bit of background about myself and why am I here, giving you the presentation on pitching, talk about styles of pitching, knowing your audience, methods of persuasion, 2-minute pitch component. So what do you have to put in your pitch? And finally, some examples. I like to keep this brief so that you can go ahead and spend most of the time practicing and working with Ife and everyone else that's in the room with you today. So a bit background about myself. So I grew up in St. Martin. I went to Milton Peters College. And after graduating, I decided to study in the US. And I took a really unconventional path. Most likely people would just go with a traditional major. I did not want a traditional major because while on St. Martin, I was part of St. Martin Youth Parliament, Kingdom of the Netherlands Youth Parliament, and part of the National Development Plan Steering Committee. And through my experiences in all those organizations, I've had a passion for creating impact and helping make society a better place. So because of that, I wanted to find a program that will give me the opportunity to study, but also work on something that I'm passionate about. Watson Institute is an accelerator for social entrepreneurs. So they bring entrepreneurs from all over the world together in Boulder, Colorado, and they help them solve some of the world's most pressing challenges, from ending poverty to gender inequity to climate change. I've worked with fellows from many different countries, and I had the ability to work on things that I was truly, truly passionate about. Today, I've graduated with a Bachelor's of Science in Social Entrepreneurship, and I also have a certificate in Human Rights and International Development from the United Nations University for Peace in Costa Rica. I'm a One Young World Ambassador. That's a fellowship for young global leaders who are working to solve some of the world's challenges, like supporting entrepreneurs with quality education and all the sustainable development goals. My focus is quality education. That's why I've worked with different accelerators and incubators in the United States, where I support entrepreneurs on their journey and helping them launch and scale their businesses. Most recently, I was the chief of staff at this startup called Haven, where we did career navigation. We helped young people find jobs, help them spice up their resumes, and help them, find their place in society as they graduate college. Now I serve as the program manager for the Ford Fund Fellowship at Watson Institute. So I went to Watson as a student, and now I was recently hired by them to lead one of their accelerator programs. So I'm currently working with 25 fellows from Argentina, Mexico, China, South Africa, and the United States, and I'm helping them on their journey of launching and scaling their businesses. So over the past couple of years, I've worked with hundreds of entrepreneurs, and that is why I am here to tell you today about pitching. So pitch style, I just want to start here by saying no style is the best style or the correct style. So you see some people come up on the stage and they're really high energy and they're so enthusiastic like me. You can use your enthusiasm, but you can use it in a mellow way as well. So I just want to say, know your style and don't try to force to be someone who you're not. Because the moment you get on that stage and the pressure comes down on you and you're trying to be someone who you're not, you're gonna break. And we don't want that happening. So Some tips I have here is be concise. So when you're talking about your problem, your customer, your solution, and your ask, make sure it's concise enough so that people can comprehend it. Do not use acronyms or short form of different words, so that people are going to be like, what's that? And they have to spend time maybe doing a quick Google to be like, oh, what are they talking about? Make sure you use simple language enough so that your audience can understand. Use your enthusiasm. As I said, you can use your hands, you can go up, and you can use your enthusiasm in a mellow way. So you don't have to be over the top. You can be calm, you can tell a story, you can connect with your audience very enthusiastically that way. Perfect your timing. Practice, practice, practice. It's a 2-minute pitch and you'll have judges there. So make sure before the event you practice, practice, practice so that you can perfect your timing when you're on the stage. I didn't have it in here, but I also want to say practice, don't memorize. Too often times we write down a 2-minute pitch and we try to memorize it word for word. And what ends up happening, and this has happened to me as well, what ends up happening is when you go on that stage, you miss one word and then you forget the entire presentation. Another thing I must say is the audience don't know what's on your mind. I'm going to talk about that in the next slide. So if you make a mistake, please don't freak out or try to start over. Just continue because the audience don't know what you're going to say. But I'll talk about that. Slides equals visual aid. So your slide should not have numerous writing on it where your audience is not listening to you and they're reading your slides. You should have them as visual aids to just support your presentation. Always have an ask. If you don't want funding, if you don't want none of those things, ask someone to have a conversation with you, share their experience, share their challenges, like use this opportunity to do more customer interviews, but always have an ask in your presentation. Show, don't tell. I can tell someone, hey, 75% of small business owners struggle with being organized, right? That's a statistic. But someone's gonna be like, okay, but how do you show them? So you tell stories of your customers, you show customer interviews, you show the data. Make sure you have enough sufficient data in your presentation so that you can show people that there's a problem and not just tell them, hey, there's this problem in the world and this is our solution. Show them. Storytelling is key. Too often people come up and be like, the problem I'm trying to solve is that my customers are. The solution to the problem is this. And it's you follow a specific template and you go like word for word, but you don't tell the story. How are you supposed to connect with your audience if you don't tell a story? When I say know your audience, judges are going to be there. You're going to have some high profile individuals there, like ministers and maybe even parliamentarians there as well. You're going to have friends, you're going to have family. So you're pitching to a wide range of audience. So make sure your content is digestible enough so that they can understand what you're talking about. So let's jump into the methods of persuasion. So this is Aristotle's rhetorical triangle. We have ethos, pathos, and logos. And this is the art of persuasion. So it is said that if you have these 3 elements in a presentation, a pitch, or whatever you're doing, you'll be able to connect with your audience, but you'll also be able to persuade and get them on board. So when people, the entrepreneurs I work with, are going for funding, I am not a template type of person to say, hey, these are all the things and you should follow this template step by step. I was like, when I listen to your pitch, I want to make sure these 3 things are in there. So ethos, credibility, pathos, emotion, and logos, logic. Let's talk about credibility. In order for someone to really believe in you, you have to prove trustworthy. You have to show your previous reputation, or even your tone or style in presenting have to come off as confident and you know what you're talking about. You've been working on your ventures and your pitches for the past couple of weeks, so you're an expert in the area. Of course, there's more you can learn in any given topic because there's an infinite amount of knowledge out there, but you've been an expert in your field. So when it comes to credibility, here's some ways. In the customer section, when you talk about customers, you can say, hey, we've talked to over hundreds of customers and this was the feedback. This is how you build credibility with your audience, because you're not coming up and you're just telling them, you're showing them that you've been out in the field, talking to customers and learning about the problem you're trying to solve. In this field, we call it apprenticing with the problem. When you apprentice with the problem, you just don't come up with a solution. You go, you talk to customers, you try to understand the problem more. And once you understood the problem, then you create a solution to that problem. Another way to build credibility is, say, for example, you're a baker and now you're currently age 15, but your family has been supporting you to bake from the age of 8. So you can be like, hey, for the past 7 years, I've been a baker and here's my experience. You can build credibility that way as well. So think about elements in your pitch, whether it is when you're introducing yourself, when you're introducing your team, like, you know, if you're gonna put like, you know, because I know some of you are in teams, so you work with other people who have experience. So figure out ways you can establish credibility. The next is pathos, emotional or imaginative impact, stories, right? When you're talking about your venture or the problem you're trying to solve, tell a story. I'll give an example. Piece of the example I'll give is, let me tell you about Jane. Jane is a small business owner who have worked to build this amazing business. However, Jane is struggling to keep her information and our data organized. Jane is not the only one who solved it, like working with this problem. 75% of small business owners struggle with organizing their information. How many of you in the room today struggle with organizing your information? Show of hands. That way, you've engaged the audience. You told a story about Jane and you use statistics, which is logos, to have that impact on your audience. Again, everyone has different things that they're working on, so you can figure out different elements. You can employ emotions when you're talking about yourself. You can talk about the problem using emotion. You can talk about a customer story using emotion. So figure out what elements of your pitch you can convey emotion. The last one is logos. Reasoning or argumentation, facts, figures, case studies. Each of your presentations should have a statistics, whether it is how many percentage of people are dealing with this problem, how many customers you've been able to work with, even if your solution. Find a statistic or something that supports your pitch you're doing. And that way you'll have all 3 elements for your pitch. So elements, again, you have 2 minutes. You can have an attention grabber, problem. You can talk about the problem. You can talk about the customer. You can talk about a solution. You can have an ask for sure. And then you can have an appendix. So with many pitch competition, the judges get to ask you questions. So say, for example, you presented a solution and the judge is like, hey, tell me more about your team. Then in the appendix, you can have a picture of your team and you can swipe and show it if you'd like. Or tell me more about how much this would cost, or like, what's your business model like? Because again, you've worked with the lean canvas over the weeks. So you can have that in the appendix if you so please. It's not a must of having, but if you would like to add that, feel free to do so. But the 5 elements that must be present: attention grabber, problem, customer, solution, ask. So I want you to take a moment think about that. I'll give you a couple seconds. Just think about like, the elements of your pitch and start to put those pieces together. Now, the final thing I'm going to do is give an example, and then I'll turn it over to Ife and the members in the room to give you an opportunity about maybe 30 minutes or so to work and put the pieces together and then start practicing your pitches in the room. So, example. So let's say I gave you those 5 elements and you're like, okay, hi, my name is Dwayne. Today I'm going to talk about information and in small businesses. The problem I'm trying to solve is small business owners struggle with managing their information. We talked to a few customers, and this is the solution we came up with. The solution is WinChart, which is basically Airtable for small businesses without the chaos and the clutter. It's a simple way to organize your data and information. My ask for you today is for you to just have a conversation with me after this pitch. You've used the format. If with this example, the format is, my problem is, customers are, like, the solution is this. You're not really telling a story. If you were to use that same information and do the pitch over, but in a story form, I would start off with, how many people in the room own a small business? Show of hands. Okay, let me tell you a story about Jane. Jane is a young woman who grew up in poverty and found the only way out is to start her small business. Over the past couple of years, Jane has started a really successful small business. However, she struggles with keeping her information and data organized. Did you know that 75% of small business owners struggle with organizing their information? After talking to over 2,000 customers, we found a solution. My name is Dwayne Griffith, and I'm the founder of WinChart. WinChart is Airtable for small businesses. What do? We help small business owners organize their information in a simple and easy way. All you need to do is log into WinChart. It's a free platform. And when you log into WinChart, decide, use from our existing templates on organizing businesses, organizing meeting notes, organizing financials. We have all these templates for you. All you need to do is select a template and add your information. We also have a premium version. The premium version is $8 a month, and this is how you add it. Anyways, you get the gist, right? In that example, I was telling a story. I use ethos, which is credibility. I talk to X amount of customers. I use logos with the example of 75% of small business owners struggle with this. And then I use pathos by telling you the story of Jane and how she came out of poverty. So that's a little example of how to transform that simple pitch into storytelling. Again, recap, we talk about styles of pitching. No style of pitching is correct. Use a style that works for you. Know your audience. Again, you know the individuals in the room. One thing I want to highlight here is by saying the audience don't know what you're talking about. If you feel you made a mistake, please continue. The audience don't know you made a mistake. They don't know that. So please continue and don't say, sorry, can I start over? Just continue and power through it because you alone know your content. We talk about ethos, pathos, and logos. Ethos, again, credibility. You can do it by showing how many people you've talked to come up with your solution. Or you can do it by showcasing your team or your past experience. Pathos, emotion, telling a story, tell the story of someone, tell your story. Logos, use some form of statistic in your presentation so that the audience understand that this is not a problem that only you or like one person face. It's a problem that many people face. In the components, make sure you have an attention grabber. Make sure you talk about the problem. Make sure you talk about the customers. Make sure you talk about the solution, and make sure you always have an ask at the end. My ask for you today is come have a conversation with me. Come buy some of my baked goods. Whatever it is, end it in an ask, and then I give you a couple examples of one example of what that might look like in a bad form and a good form. Thank you all for watching this presentation today. Thank you for being here. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Ife and the team on the ground. I can set up aside some hours for office hours virtually if you need some presentation, like, practice on Friday or later before your pitch. So reach out to Ife if you think you need some additional support, and then I can put a couple time blocks on my calendar and you can schedule a virtual consultation with me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I wish you all the best of luck. And remember, it's all about telling the story of the problem you're trying to solve. Have a good one, everyone. Bye-bye.